Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Our next session is on the global transformation of programmatic digital out-of-home. This is so fitting as it's being moderated by Andreas Soupliotis, my good friend. He's founder of and CEO of Hivestack. He actually deftly and uniquely speaks engineering, and Andreas also speaks English, which is unique and wonderful. Andreas sits on the board of the DPAA, and Hivestack is also our globalization pillar sponsor for the next 3 days. We're so pleased that Andreas has assembled a truly international panel for everybody. The question bar on the side of the viewer is for your questions. Andreas, my friend, please take it away now.
Thank you, Barry, and thank you to the DPAA. Mythology tells us that where you stumble, there lies your treasure. My name is Andreas Soupliotis, and I'm the founder and CEO of Hivestack, a global ad tech platform that powers digital out-of-home programmatically around the world. Throughout history, great events have been referred to as society-changing events that will be forever remembered. Sometimes these can be challenging events, such as the Great Recession or the Great Depression, but there are also other great events that are very positive, such as great recoveries, great economic bull markets, and great technological booms. Our panel today is called The Great Global Transformation of Programmatic Digital Out-of-Home. We believe 2020 has the potential to be remembered as the year that programmatic digital out-of-home went mainstream. It's with great pleasure that I introduce our three panelists, starting with Dennis Kuperis, who is the global head of innovation at Kinetic Worldwide, one of the largest out-of-home agencies on the planet. As global head of innovation, Dennis is driving the transformation from locations to audiences at locations across all markets globally at Kinetic. Maroon Ishak is the global director of business development of retail solutions at Intel. Intel sits on the board of directors of the DPAA and has been driving thought leadership throughout the industry, championing the new concept of what's called the 3 A's of digital out-of-home: addressable, accountable, and attributable. We'll hear a lot more about that. And we're so pleased to also have Ichiro Jinai, who is in Tokyo right now. He is the president and chief executive officer of Liveboard, an exciting joint venture between NTT Docomo, the largest wireless carrier of Japan, and Dentsu, the largest agency of Japan and one of the largest agencies of the world. Liveboard established the world's first programmatic-only digital out-of-home network. Now, with that, I'd like to get right into the questions. I'd like to start with a question for all the panelists, starting with Dennis, and then we'll move on to Maroon, and then with Jinai-san. So for all panelists, the first question is, from your perspective, please tell us why you feel programmatic digital out-of-home has had explosive growth even during a pandemic. Over to you, Dennis.
Yeah, thanks, Andreas. Yes, just from a buyer perspective, obviously audience were down during lockdowns, but and also budgets were down. But what we learned from Journeys, which is our Kinetic audience platform, is that certain specific audience were back, especially at roadside supermarket specific environments. So although media owners, they offered flexible terms, there were still brands that needed a lot of flexibility and being able to adapt to new circumstances. There was always the fear, and I think it's come to life now, of a second lockdown. So brands still wanted to communicate in that uncertain times. And that's why they used programmatic digital out-of-home to target specific audiences at specific locations, and also with specific addressable, contextual, right messages. So, based on that experience, is for them, maybe that they took a first hurdle, but I think the positive experiences from that time just continue. So yeah, we see that we drive in markets 50% more programmatic digital out-of-home campaigns at this moment, because of the learnings from the recent time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dennis. Now I'd like to ask Maroon the same exact question.
Andreas, I would say the investment that the industry has made in technology, programmatic, and attribution is starting to really pay off. We're no longer what we used to be, a one-to-many media. We're now a one-to-select audience medium. We have the ability to do audience planning, programmatic activation, measure attribution, which is really, really a big deal for our industry. And when you combine that, with the fact that the digital out-of-home screen, sits at the point of influence, at the point of decision, brands are starting to invest in the digital out-of-home as a core media, for their multi-channel strategies. And the other thing is, with our industry ability to understand mobility data, being able to understand audience movement, especially in the world of COVID-19, all of a sudden, we have the ability as an industry to help brands to activate, to pace campaigns. And so all in all, we're starting to become a fully digital media where, we would love to become, 100% programmatic, but all in all, this bodes really, really well for the industry, especially as we move forward into the late 2020 and 2021.
Thank you very much, Maroon. And now, Ichiro, perhaps you can share from your perspective why you feel programmatic digital out-of-home has had such explosive growth even during pandemic times.
Yeah, I think it is quite natural consequences. In this pandemic world, volatility is the new normal for everybody. Advertisers seek for agility and efficiency when they plan media allocation with limited budget. And publishers seek for additional channel and efficiency in communicating and trading their inventory. So the programmatic is one of the key solutions to cope with the pandemic world. So everybody seeking for to the programmatic world, I think.
Thank you so much. Great perspective. And especially coming from the Japanese marketplace, it's exciting to hear overseas what's happening. And by the way, we've got a very global panel here. We have Maroon, who's currently in Chandler. We have Dennis, who is in Amsterdam, myself in Montreal, Canada, and Ichiro, who is in Tokyo. So very much a global perspective. So now I'd like to turn to Dennis. So Dennis, as the global head of innovation for Kinetic Worldwide, could you share some of the needs that you're hearing from clients and advertisers that Kinetic works with, and how innovations in programmatic digital out-of-home have allowed you to change the game and better service your clients?
Sure. Yes, what we see over the last few years is that out-of-home has been in a radical transformation, and massive investments have been done by multiple stakeholders, especially by the media owners, in getting more digital inventory on the streets. But even equally important, I think, it's the radical evolution on the data ecosystem side. And because of those two evolutions, and we're able to answer client needs much better. So now out-of-home is just getting smarter insights. We got near live data. It's just a faster time to market. The storytelling across screens, combination with out-of-home and mobile. Out-of-home as a new point of sale, aiming to drive commerce, especially for direct-to-consumer brands. Yeah, so out-of-home or commerce is not limited anymore to the physical location, but now just the mobile is in your pocket, so it's everywhere where the audience is, basically. And the ability to close the loop, so the attribution and the return on ad spend is now much, much better. So, all those innovations, all those developments have been able just to answer the client needs better. But, Andreas, things go both fast and slow, and we are around for quite a long time. And I think we started in 2015 with the first discussions around programmatic. And if you look where we are right now with programmatic digital out-of-home, I think it's in the US, it's around 7% of digital out-of-home spend. So, we have been making massive progress over the last years, and I believe we got the fundamentals right. But I just see it as phase one. So, it definitely has accelerated during the pandemic for reasons we just discussed. And we're well positioned now for further growth. But, there's still a lot of work to do in terms of inspiring and educating and guiding brands and agencies to maximize the new opportunities this brings to the out-of-home ecosystem. So moving forward in terms of innovation, it's very important from our perspective not to look at programmatic digital out-of-home in isolation. We still have a lot of static and digital, and it's just the combination of those three which is so important. So it's very important to understand the specific mechanisms for each medium, and sometimes we make the parallel to a fee, where you also have just a linear TV over the top and addressable TV right now, and if every stage has its own mechanics. Which is also important is getting the creative stuff right. Take all the frictions out there. So we talk about rule-based dynamic creative at scale. We're working within Group MWP, and we call the WP Open platform, where we are pushing or willing to push HTML5 creatives that we can create on the spot. And also responsive creative, I think that's still, there's a lot of friction. There's so many different formats in digital out of home. So what we have developed right now is that we can convert 90 different formats into 3 responsive creatives. So being able to do that, take away that friction and have a seamless pipe, it's also a better opportunity to use more DCO. And because it's still a great canvas out of home. And also the UK research learned that only 8% of the campaigns that we do on digital and programmatic is using DCO. And we already have great cases where by using DCO, there's big uplift in footfall or even in sales. And the last one is also, how can we sync digital out of home or programmatic digital out of home also with other channels? Obviously the omnichannel thinking, but also we use mobile performance to understand, so what is the best creative working in a specific region, and how can we sync that with digital out of home screens or even with in-store screens for a retailer. And the other one is, all the mobile data that we have is very important. It's a big step forward. But also, we're working with Maroon at Intel also to see what live sensor data can we use in order to make better short-term optimized buys. And that's also a really exciting area that we're after. And then the last thing, and it's not really an innovation, but it has everything to do with trust and the learnings that we can have from the online media industry is about accountability. And 3 areas on that. One is transparency in pricing. So how do we deal with impression multipliers? Proof of play is an important one, and also keep the focus on attribution and effectiveness measurement. So from that perspective, I think we're very well positioned, but we still have a lot of work to do in those areas I just mentioned.
Andreas, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. So recently, Kinetic UK and Kinetic Germany recently announced partnerships with Hivestack. Can you just spend 20, 30 seconds telling us a little bit about that?
I'm sorry, Andreas, you're breaking up.
Yes. So Kinetic UK and Kinetic Germany recently announced partnerships with Hivestack. Can you just spend 20 to 30 seconds talking a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, so Kinetic has Journeys, which is Kinetic audience platform. And with that platform, we already have a deep holistic understanding of optimizing automated digital out-of-home trading and also data-driven plan, not only for digital, but also for static devices. So now with Hivestack, we have a fully integrated DSP in Journeys, just to power our planning, our activation, and also the attribution of digital out of home. And we have been working with Hivestack quite successfully in the partnership that we have with Kinetic in Canada. And based on that experience and based on that learnings, which was all around smart visuals and user interface, which you're showing right now, the full measurement stack that we can use to attribute specific outcomes for our client. audience, but also, the whole agile approach to integrate our proprietary data partners and our own data sources into the system. So now we have a journeys platform that is easier, it's smarter, it's faster, and even more efficient to activate digital out-of-home inventory based on audiences, location, and context. And as you just mentioned, we launched in the UK and Germany recently. We signed together with you Pakistan yesterday, which is a market which is just starting, but with a great team, with a great digital knowledge, and really willing to make the first steps. And then we will have France and Geography, which is our airport division, live shortly as well. So yeah, we're very excited just to work with you, and also to leverage the knowledge that we're building in certain markets, also to our other global markets around the world. So exciting times.
Thank you so much for that, Dennis. Greatly appreciated. Great insights from the agency side. So Maroon, Intel is such, of course, a huge champion of digital out-of-home and programmatic digital out-of-home as a client, but you manage the digital out-of-home business for Intel's IoT group. And you also sit on the board of directors of DPAA. You've also been acting as a thought leader in our space, championing the 3A concept. Can you please tell us what is the 3A concept?
Great question, Andreas. The future of the digital out-of-home industry is really predicated on our ability to become a fully digital media and 100% programmatic. And I would say that 3A gets us there. It stands for addressable, accountable, attributable. First A, addressable, meaning we can activate programmatically when the right target audience is in proximity of the screen. Accountable, meaning we can measure from an end-to-end perspective, understanding exposure data, understanding who looked at the ad, for how long, even understanding context. Attributable, meaning for the first time ever, we have the ability to understand offline to online and offline to offline impact in the form of intent. And so this is really a big deal. And I believe the digital out-of-home screen in the future needs to become 3A compliant. And in doing so, our industry is going to be able to raise the CPM value, and every brand will make the digital out-of-home a core of their media multi-channel strategies.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Now, Intel recently ran an outside-in buy where Intel activated from a Hivestack DSP based out of the US and activated in Japan. Can you tell us a little bit about this outside-in buy and perhaps tell us a little bit about the results?
Yeah, the results actually were amazing, Andreas. As you know, we wanted to target key decision makers in the world of IoT, verticals such as retail, healthcare, industrial, education, banking, etc. So we worked very closely with your team and our friends at Liveboard and Jinai-san team. And so we were able to actually plan the audience, understand where they are, understand the journey of their everyday life. And so we leveraged your platform, programmatic platform, to activate when they were actually in proximity of the screen. And because of that, I would say the results were amazing. We faced some 4 million impressions with almost zero inefficiency. The industry calls that spill impressions, almost zero. And we were able to measure an overall 8.8% in intent, which is really, really huge. And this is a significant accomplishment, for the industry, the fact that we're able now to measure attribution. So all in all, I believe, Andreas, that we have proved the value of 3A. We have proved the value of programmatic to the digital out-of-home media and to the brands. And in doing so, this is why I fundamentally believe, and I agree with what Francois said in his earlier talk about his top 10, that we're going to see accelerated adoption of our industry and accelerated growth as an advertisement medium.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that great insight, Maroon, and for your thought leadership. I always like to say that our relationship was born in the DPAA boardroom, and that's where some of these ideas were generated on 3As and programmatic digital at home and outside in buys. So I think on behalf of the industry, we thank Intel and you and Jose for the incredible support you and thought leadership you have provided. Now over to Jinai-san. Jinai-san, Intel is an amazing case study where there was an outside in buy activating from the US, but activating across the Japanese market, which is quite fragmented. So Liveboard has hundreds of brands utilizing programmatic digital out-of-home in Japan. Can you perhaps share with us why the digital out-of-home market in Japan is so unique compared to the rest of the world, and how Liveboard is aggregating and doing great things in Japan?
Okay. As you well know, Japan is the third largest OOH market in the world, but I'm afraid that Japanese OOH industry hasn't leveraged the essential power of OOH yet. Due to the market fragmentation, no industry standard media currency, and the lack of audience-first approaches rather than just sell frames. I do believe programmatic is the key to solve these issues and gives full access to the benefit and power of OOH for both advertisers and publishers. Ironically, COVID-19 accelerated the trend towards 3A compliant OOH media, as Maroon-san mentioned, addressable, accountable, and attributable. I have already seen the symptom marching into programmatic world in Japan. Global marketers such as Intel, Maroon-san, or Mars, Mandarin Oriental, directly tapped into Japanese OOH inventory through programmatic and outside-in approach to buy the exact spot for their targets and prove the outcomes of the campaigns. That is the current situation.
Thank you so much for that incredible insight from the Japanese out-of-home market. Now, there's a few more outside-in buys, and that's a term that Jeff Green introduced at the trade desk when they launched their offering in Asia. Their goal was to basically attract outside international buyers into the Asian markets. And this is precisely what Liveboard and Intel and Hivestack through a collaboration have been able to achieve. There's more of these outside-in buys running with other brands right now. Could you perhaps spend a few seconds just sharing some insights on those?
Yes, so the programmatic gives the advertiser and the publishers the flexibility to access to the inventory from global to local, local to global. So as I mentioned, the Mandarin Oriental or the Mars or such kind of the FMCG and the luxury brand is already preparing or running their campaign from the headquarters to buy local inventories.
Very exciting. So the outside-in concept is very real and very active. So with that, I'd like to just provide my final words and thank you so much, panelists. I think your message today is very clear. The pandemic has accelerated the imminent transformation of directly sold digital out-of-home to programmatic digital out-of-home. And because of the pandemic, buyers are now demanding self-serve flexibility. We hear you loud and clear. With the ability to easy on and easy off campaigns at the click of a button in case there's a new wave of COVID infections. Buyers are demanding better targeting, less spill impressions, optimized pricing, and clear measurement of business outcomes, all via a DSP. And finally, on the sell side, media owners have naturally and understandably fallen short of revenue targets due to the pandemic. This has created a climate where digital out-of-home publishers have newly found spiked interest in connecting into ad exchanges and SSPs. In summary, 2020 is the potential to be remembered as the great programmatic transformation of digital out-of-home. And once again, as Joseph Campbell said, where you stumble, there lies your treasure. Thank you so much, panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andreas.
Andreas, that was great. And thank you, Dennis, Ichido, and Maroon. Some great themes there. Of course, AAA, which Maroon, thank you for that. In addition, the outside in, the ability to take money from one region and bring it into the other is very key. I like the easy on, easy off nature of digital at home programmatic. If we have learned anything during this COVID period, it's that programmatic digital out of home offers us an amazing agility and optionality to move schedules to find audiences where they exist. So a great panel. We have a question here, Andreas. I'll start with you from the audience. And by the way, if there's any other questions, please feed them in right now. Andreas, globally, and you're certainly a global expert on digital out of home. I mean, from the early business of Stora that you've done, what do you think in terms of region growth of either total dollars or percentage of total out of home that you see, say, in EMEA, you see in Asia, you see in North America? How do you project that going forward in the future?
So I think the markets that are extremely digital heavy, so for example, markets like Australia and the UK, 50% of all of out-of-home revenue is digital out-of-home. And because that's already digital, those are the markets that are really ripe to truly accelerate to becoming programmatic digital out-of-home. And moreover, also APAC for 2020 has surpassed the total media spend from advertisers, even more so than the Americas. So we actually feel APAC is a really exciting market. Liveboard, of course, with everything they're doing in Japan, which is the third largest market in the world, has started a business with a programmatic only mindset. We think that's going to continue to unroll, especially as new networks come out. So I would put APAC and I would put EMEA as well, a really high growth market. And of course, the US has also been growing very, very nicely.
Thank you. A related question we have from our audience similar to that is categories of advertisers, Andreas. Do you see certain categories embracing digital out of programmatic earlier than others?
We do. Actually, during the pandemic, there's been a bit of a consistent theme in the advertiser categories. Surprisingly, automotive has been very strong, and it took me a while to figure out why. I guess, when you can lease a car for $200 a month, it might be better to do that than, maybe some people, might want to be a little more cautious about taking the subway immediately. They might wait a month or so. So automotive sales, financial as well. A lot of people are still banking. A lot of people are still insurance related. And also as well, we've been seeing a boom in the sort of online app marketplace, companies such as DOOH, the online sort of buyers have really also been advertiser categories that have come quite strong.
Excellent. And last question, the kind of omni-channel world, we talked about the Trade Desk, you did a little bit, certainly Verizon Media, a great DPAA member, has been very active in omni-channel trading for programmatic. Where and how do you see the continued, and I imagine potentially growing intersection of digital out of home and the whole omni-channel digital world?
Well, Hivestack is so excited about the omni-channel DSPs taking such great interest in out of home. We absolutely believe that in the future, that's where we will see a huge influx of digital dollars coming in from digital buyers that are used to using their existing DSPs to buy display, video, native, and social. And the fact that you have, amazing members, like Verizon, that have really embraced digital out of home in such a big way, that's really important and meaningful. And we think that triggers a tsunami of omni-channel DSPs taking interest in our space, which can only result in net new revenue coming towards our industry.
Excellent. A tsunami of digital out of home, a tsunami of programmatic. No tsunamis in Japan anymore, Chiro, but thank you for joining us from Tokyo. Thank you, Andreas from Montreal, Dennis from Amsterdam, and Maroon. Andreas mentioned Chandler. For those that don't know, it's the Intel global headquarters in Arizona, not too far from Scottsdale. So thank you all very much for a great panel. Digital out of home programmatic is just so exciting and so aggressively growing. Thank you all very much. And now we're going to be right back, everybody.